Hey everyone, my name is WyrmsEye and I welcome you back to another episode of the Battlespot Factory, our VGC Battlespot series. This will be the last episode with William Tansley's London Internationals team, an edited version of the team with Alolan Raichu, Tapu Koko, Porygon2, Kartana, Salamence and Gigalith. We'll be moving on to a fresh team going into next week, so do be on the lookout for that. It's a team dear to my heart, as I've said, and I'm really excited to show it for you, if not to be completely lambasted by what I'm about to do to the ladder. 2 wins in yesterday's episode, 2 very close fought victories against 2 very difficult teams. So hopefully we're going to round out the week with another couple of wins, climbing up the ladder as we are. So let's jump into the ladder and try and find our first opponent. Obviously we've been doing very well with this team despite it being such an old style of team, and it's been fun to use this team once again after a couple of months of not actually using it, as we find a Japanese rated opponent with a rating of 1727, very high indeed, running a team of Tapu Koko, Porygon2, Vanillux, Mimikyu, Snorlax and Arcanine. So the thing that sticks out here is the Vanillux. Hasn't been seen too often since the start of the season, where it was being run as a Scarf Pokemon. As we see that our opponent locks in very quickly here. And again, we do see that the Mimikyu and the Snorlax is on our opponent's team, so it does carry a very sizable Trick Room option. So we will have to be careful of that. I won't be able to stop the Trick Room going up if he wishes to set it up with either the Mimikyu or the Porygon2, but we may be able to play into that a little. I think the safest lead for me is going into Tapu Koko and Raichu here. And once again, I think Gigalith is necessary to deal with this, to partially deal with Snorlax under his own Trick Room. The last is probably between Kartana and Porygon2. I think I'm going to bring Porygon2 here. My reasoning for bringing Porygon2 is if Gigalith isn't able to deal with the Snorlax, potentially if it has the Belly Drum set, I may be able to use Porygon to somewhat stall out the Snorlax, not necessarily indefinitely, but be able to recover, and I do have Toxic on the Porygon, which will be very useful. So we see our opponent lead off with Mimikyu and Tapu Koko. Obviously the shiny variant of Tapu Koko does reveal to us that it is a timid variant, so it will outspeed our own Tapu Koko. How do I want to deal with this? Because if you're my opponent, you do still want to probably try and set up the Trick Room, and you may elect a Volt Switch into your Snorlax. So I'm going to Volt Switch into the Mimikyu. I am still going to fake out the Tapu Koko regardless. He may choose to Hard Switch the Tapu Koko, but he chooses not to. The fake out does go on to the Tapu Koko. It flinches. Doesn't reveal much to us, as the Volt Switch does go into the Mimikyu. Will break the skies, as we do manage to get our Tapu Koko back into the rear of our party, and we will bring out the Gigalith here. So again, we are banking that the Mimikyu is going to try and Trick Room this turn. If it chooses not to, we could be in a slightly difficult situation, depending on what move the Mimikyu opts to go for, as we see a Twinkle Tackle come out from the Mimikyu here. So once again, probably targeting down the Raichu, if I was to guess. But no, it's actually into the Gigalith, so choosing to try and remove our trying to remove our Tapu Koko straight away from our side of the field. It's kind of an interesting turn there. I'm going to heavy slam into the Mimikyu, and I am going to Shattered Psyche into the Tapu Koko. We will be the fastest thing on the field. We do have to be mindful that this may not pick up the knockout, so we may be losing our Gigalith here, but I think it's a risk worth taking. This will be... We've managed to get some decent chip damage onto the Tapu Koko, so it should be within range. If it isn't, we just then have to hope that the Mimikyu doesn't go for Trick Room. So we are putting a lot of emphasis on this turn. But the Tapu Koko does go down to the Shattered Psyche, so not able to get an attack off, as the Mimikyu opts to Will-O-Wisp our Gigalith rather than go for the Trick Room. It does cut our attack in half, but our Heavy Slam still does very respectable damage to the Mimikyu, even despite that. And we take a 4-3 Pokemon lead. So our opponent chooses to bring in the Porygon2 here. Gets its download boost in special attack, so it does mean that it will be a decent threat for our opponent. Will have some decent damage output. Mimikyu obviously isn't going to be able to do too much this turn. So I'm going to try and Rock Slide here. If we can get a flinch onto the Porygon2, that would be the most ideal situation. But because we need to try and stop the Trick Room at any cost possible. As we do see the Paralysis go onto the Porygon2, so again we're going to get further opportunities to try and prevent this Trick Room that's likely to go up. Is Gigalith going to be the next to move? Yep, so the Rock Slide does connect to both of our opponent's Pokemon. Does secure the knockout onto the Mimikyu. But the Porygon does unfortunately get its Trick Room up on the field. So we're going to bring in our own Porygon2 here, as we do see that our opponent's loss is in fact that Snorlax. As our download only gives us an attack boost, unfortunately. So I'm going to Rock Slide here with my Gigalith. And I am going to Toxic the Snorlax straight away here. We need to try and prevent whatever it's able to do in terms of setup, whether that be the Belly Drum or the Curse, as we get a critical hit onto the Porygon2. Porygon2 opts to Psych up onto the Snorlax, which, unfortunately, because of the Paralysis, is slower. So Snorlax does get its HP cut there. But with the Wiki Berry it does regain that, as the Toxic does go out onto the Snorlax. So we've now seen that the Porygon2 has Psych Up, which is obviously going to be some sort of concern for us going forward. We can't also toxic the Porygon2, so we're going to have to be somewhat reliant on trying to stop it from being able to recover here. So yeah, safest play here is to try and Rock Slide again with Gigalith. And I believe an Ice Beam into the Porygon2 is probably our best play here, unfortunately. So Gigalith is still underspeeding, does get the Rock Slide off. Should put the Porygon2 into range, but unfortunately because of its paralysis it is going to be able to recover first. Snorlax though does flinch, which is very useful for us. And we do manage to get our Ice Beam off as the Sandstorm does subside there. Electricity disappears from the battlefield. How many turns of Trick Room have we got to stall out here? 2 more turns. We are applying some decent pressure onto the Snorlax now. If we could put an Ice Beam onto it, it might be a sensible option. Yeah. I think that's the sensible play here. So Gigalith does use Rock Slide, still connects with both, so if we get another flinch that will be very useful for us. Porygon2 does choose to Psych up this turn, unfortunately, so it will get the +6 in attack, as our Ice Beam does go off onto the Snorlax as it flinches as well. And critically, it looks to be within range of one further attack. Same again, I fear. Even if we lose the Gigalith this turn, or even the Porygon, if the Snorlax doesn't choose to recycle, it's putting itself in a bad position. I think we can afford to not target the Snorlax down this turn with the Porygon2. Gigalith does use Rock Slide, avoids the Porygon2, but critically it does hit the Snorlax, securing the knockout there for us. Porygon2 does unfortunately get fully paralysed, so the paralysis finally catching up to it as our Ice Beam does go off onto the Porygon2. The Gigalith is still taking some burn damage, but crucially the Twisted Dimensions do return to normal. And at this stage of the game it's basically a case of trying to chip down this Porygon2 sufficiently enough that we can secure the knockout. The paralysis will help us. It does still have the option to recover, as it does show there. But our main objective now is to just try and get it removed from play, really. Our opponent really stuck between two very difficult problems here. If it chooses to recover now, it does mean that our Tapu Koko does get a free switch in the following turn. Hopefully Gigalith Stone Edge will connect, so that will give us some additional options onto it. Gigalith does go down to the burn. But depending what the Porygon2 has as its main offensive move, may decide how this battle turns out. see. So Front Bolt does go out onto Porygon2, does practically over 50% damage there. Ice Beam is very close to catching the knockout. Does our Tapu Koko survive? No, +6 obviously will secure the knockout there. That paralysis may come back to haunt us because we're not able to Toxic it. So we have to hope for a full paralysis on this turn or a critical hit on our Ice Beam. We get neither. The recover does come out. It is going to mean that this Porygon is going to stick around for a few turns longer. And because of the timer, we're in a pretty poor position here now. 3 Ice Beams left on our Porygon2 isn't going to give us enough opportunities to take this Porygon2 out. Which is a shame, really. So, obviously, we dedicated quite a few of our resources to trying to remove Snorlax from play. In the end, the Porygon2 does manage to hang around enough that we can't actually beat it, so we are just going to forfeit here. Good games to my opponent. She played that relatively well. Obviously, the Psych Up is not something that we actually see very often on the Porygon2, which did catch us out. The first time that she tried to go for it, she was obviously able to... She wasn't able to get the boost that she was expecting to because the belly drum came after her Porygon's move. So we did get somewhat lucky because that could have been very threatening very quickly. But at the end of the day, not much we could have done in that end situation. So we will jump back onto the ladder, try and find another opponent here. Last game of this run with this team. It's been an absolute pleasure using it, and obviously credit to Will for building something very very solid despite having some very clear-cut weaknesses that the team does have. He did suggest to me, because the Salamence was originally a Gyarados, the Salamence made more sense than trying to go for another Intimidator in the form of Arcanine, because you need the ground immunity with this team being so weak to it. As we get another Japanese rated opponent with a rating of 1532, with a team of Tapu Lele, Gigalith, Kartana, Garchomp, Mandibuzz and Arcanine. So straight away, the Mandibuzz is a potential threat for our team, mostly due to the fact that it will have the Psychic Seed available to it. So in a similar manner to how Drifblim Lele works, Mandibuzz also tends to carry the Psychic Seed to give it the special defense boost. And its natural bulk actually allows it to survive quite a lot of offense, and with Roost it's got that longevity that Drifblim doesn't actually have to its name. So how do I want to lead? I think Kartana and Coco is a good lead here. Does threaten the obvious lead of Mandibuzz and Tapu Lele. In the back, I'll probably have Gigalith and Porygon2. Obviously, if they do set up Tailwind, we can counter that with our own Trick Room. And Porygon2 is probably able to survive quite a lot of the offense that the rest of the team does have. The Arcanine does less than half to it generally, and we do also have the option to Toxic opponents, and we do have Ice Beam to counter Garchomp if we need to. As our opponent leaves with Garchomp and Tapu Lele, we do see that the Lele is not Scarfed straight off the bat. But where does this put this Garchomp here? Garchomp could be Scarfed, and that does make me slightly anxious. I'm going to play this turn a bit riskily. I'm going to bank on the Garchomp not being Scarfed, as we do see the Lele withdraw probably into the Mandibuzz there, which does highlight very likely that the Garchomp is not Scarfed, it shows Protect. So our Tapu Koko does get its Dazzling Gleam off, relatively unhindered. Mandibuzz taking around a third of its health there, as the Leaf Blade does go into the Protect on Garchomp. So straight away that Garchomp is now under a lot more pressure. We now know that it's not Scarfed, most likely carrying the Ground DMZ to deal with electric types. Mandibuzz will still probably want to go for a Tailwind at this stage of the game. Does Garchomp really want to risk being out on the field here? I don't know. I'm going to Smart Strike into the Garchomp and also Dazzling Gleam. This may seem counterintuitive, but I have a feeling that the Lele may switch back in onto the Garchomp slot. We don't see any switch out though, so Dazzling Gleam does come out. Garchomp taking well over 2/3 of its health. Smart Strike does go into the Garchomp. Will it pick up the knockout? It does pick up the knockout onto Garchomp. The Ruskin obviously going to break our Focus Sash, but a relatively safe option there, as the Mandibuzz does go for the Tailwind. So our opponent's team will be outspeeding everything that we've got on the field, and we will have to be mindful of that. But as we see our opponent's Kartana hit the field, I feel like our opponent has to kind of make the play that he wants a Sacred Sword into our Kartana. So what I'm going to do here is I'm still going to play this relatively riskily actually. We'll try doing this. I do think Kartana on my opponent's side is probably going to chooses to Leaf Blade the Tapu Koko here instead. Mandibuzz does go for a foul play. This actually will knock out the Kartana on our side, as we do get our Dazzling Gleam off from the Tapu Koko onto our opponent's Pokemon. The Mandibuzz survives on a sliver of health, but Kartana is taken down to half here. And we can bring in Porygon here. We've got So is my opponent's Tailwind stuck? It's still got 2 turns, okay. Mandibuzz may choose to roost here, but if it doesn't and it chooses to taunt, that's probably not to my opponent's benefit. Let's see how he goes. So Katana does still choose to lead the blade onto the Tapu Koko. Sorry about the graphical problems, guys. So Katana does get a Beast Boost in attack. What does the Mandibuzz go for? It goes for the taunt. So we've predicted that turn very well here. As we do get our Ice Beam onto the Kartana, knocking it out. And we can bring Gigalith now onto the field. So we know that our opponent's last is a Tapu Lele. Because we're taunted, we kind of just have to go for the offensive with our Porygon2. We'll go for an Ice Beam into the Mandibuzz. I don't personally think that... because the Roost will come out this turn, so... if we Heavy Slam into the Tapu Lele, we should be safe on this front. Tapu Lele does opt to just go for the Psychic into the Gigalith. The Psychic terrain does mean that it gets some pretty decent damage here, as the Mandibuzz opts to Snarl. So Porygon2 is going to take a stage of special attack drop, as is the Gigalith, but we've now got to the situation where Porygon2's Ice Beam will knock out the Mandibuzz at its very low health, and our Gigalith should be able to clean up the Tapu Lele as well. As the Heavy Slam does go onto the Tapu Lele. Secures the knockout there, and a pretty convincing win at the end there. So yeah, our opponent didn't lead with the Tapu Lele and the Mandibuzz, opting instead to go for Garchomp. We did take kind of an educated risk there, because there was the potential threat that the Garchomp was in fact Scarf, but once he revealed the Protect on turn 1, it made it a lot easier to deal with. So we are able to claim 1 win from today's episode and a single loss, so not a bad way to end off our run with this team. So guys, if you would like to like, comment and subscribe on the video, would be very much appreciated. This is going to be the end of the run for the team. But we'll be back next week with a brand new team on the channel for the Battle Spot Factory, and I hope you guys will join me then. Goodbye for now.